what is your most insane dorm story? One of my friends in my dorm in college stupidly cooked pot brownies in the public oven downstairs. To do so, he first microwaved a bunch of weed in his dorm room to make butter. This smelled like crazy, so he put the brownies in and leaves the dorm. I don't know any of this. I think he was trying to surprise a bunch of us. I roomed right next door though, so I could smell something. But then our RA knocked on the door and asked where my friend was. I said I didn't know, but I knew something was up. So I called my friend and he explained. We made a plan to get the weed out of his room and the brownies out of there. I got the weed out of his room using his roommate's help, a lot of stealth, and his other friend's help. We walked by all of the RAs in the dorm with the weed in my backpack. They looked at us and we looked back at them. They knew what was going on, but they couldn't stop it. It was like a goddamn mafia movie. In that moment, I felt so badass. We then walked past and ditched the weed, and found out that my friend snuck back in the building, got the brownies, and ditched those too. So all in all, nothing bad happened. We now have a Discord. Check out the server in the link in the description. Story 2. It was my first week of living in my new dorm 2 weeks before school started. So my roommates and I decided it would be a great idea to throw a party so that we could get to know everyone. My roommates and I loaded up on Skittles vodka, made it ourselves, filled our entire fridge and our neighbors with beer, literally crispers and everything, made 200 Jell-O shots, bought 3 ounces of weed, and invited everyone in the building. To understand the hilarity of the rest of the story, you have to know that my room was on the 3rd floor, right next to the elevator, and had a large, communal balcony right in front of my door. The party was a success. We had 100-ish people in our little 3-bedroom dorm room. Everyone was shoulder to shoulder. A few of us were in the bathroom hotboxing for the first 3 hours of the party with a towel stuffed in the crack of the door. I was higher than Snoop could ever rap about. I walk out of the bathroom to see a dude owling on top of our refrigerator and beating his meat. Everyone left him alone because who wants to mess with a dude who could rain millions of unborn babies on your head? We were playing beer pong and having a good time. Keep in mind, dude is still spanking his monkey when we hear a knock on the door. One of the guests opens the door, and who would have thunk it? It's the Popo. The 3 police officers start yelling at everyone to turn the music down and line up. The dude on top of the fridge with his dong still out yells, "It's Officer Krupke!" Jumps down from the fridge, sprints out of the door, right past the officers, and hurdles himself off of the balcony. Everyone thought he was a goner for sure, even the police officers. They started calling in for an ambulance. I walked to the edge of the balcony and looked up. This guy landed face first on his still exposed dong, then stands up, looks up, and yells, "Screw the police!" Pulls his pants up and just walks off. Guarantee that guy is gonna be sore the next day and he's not gonna know why. Or perhaps, given everything, maybe a little more than sore. Story 3. A couple of years ago during winter, I was in my room playing video games and whatever. My then next door neighbor knocks on my door in his underwear, telling me that he needs my help. I was a bit weirded out, but whatever. So it turns out that he had taken 3 hits of LSD and was having a pretty bad trip. His friend who lived on the same floor as us turned up and we decided to look after him and make sure he didn't do anything stupid. He ended up doing something stupid anyway. He grabbed his wallet and started running around campus at full speed. The guy's friend was high as hell, and I'm chronically lazy and have asthma, so we couldn't catch up. The last I saw of him that night was when he ran off into the woods at the edge of campus. A friend of mine ended up calling the porters and found out that he had run onto the main road and jumped into an oncoming car, shattering the windshield. I'd assumed he'd been arrested, or at the very least spent a few days in the hospital after that. The next day, I woke up and went to get breakfast. As I left the room, the dude was coming back to his room wearing a hospital gown like barely anything had happened. He then accused me of stealing his wallet. Story 4. On the first night of move-in at the freshman dorms, we were all required to meet in the common area to get to know our floor members at 8 p.m. One half was girls, the other half was guys. We do a roll call and there are 3 people missing. 1 girl and a room of 2 guys. Their room is visible from the meeting area, so someone volunteers to knock on their door. They swing open the door and it's them with their shirts off wrapped in a bedsheet. They slowly walk out with crap-eating grins on their face. 2 seconds later, a girl bolts from the room and runs back down the hall to her room. Everyone on the floor is kind of just sitting in shocked silence when guy number 1 goes, "Yeah, we hit that." And guy number 2 goes, "Choo-choo," while pumping his arm. They get dressed, come out, and act like nothing happened. I kind of feel bad for the girl, because she earned the nickname Train, and people would write crap like choo-choo or all aboard on the whiteboard she had on her door. Everything was consensual, and she eventually owned it. She was just really embarrassed she got caught in front of the whole floor. I'm really glad to hear that she owned it in the end, because that sounds really rough. Stuff like that is not meant to be advertised to your whole dorm floor, but I mean, it's college, it would probably get around anyway, huh? Story 5. Probably at the time I was playing Final Doom TNT level 28 Heck on Nightmare. The sound of those guys that throw fire that follows you sent chills up my spine. The music was adrenaline rushing, the plasma gun was firing, had just grabbed the first key, I think it was yellow, turned, came back up the lift, ran down the corridor, and all of a sudden, 3 Barons of Hell are waiting for me. The fire was still chasing me, and the rockets from all directions and the distant screams of the Hell Knights, it was electrifying. You do you, OP. You do you. Not quite the stories we were looking for, I don't think, though. Story 6. The frickin' laundry wars, man. Nothing ticked me off more than having to go to collect my clean laundry, only to see it had been tossed out of its active cycle onto the floor, still wet. What, do you think I'm just gonna wait around for you to finish? This crap would escalate so hard. It's crazy that we never actually encountered each other. I remember taking this bro's polo shirts, like a dozen of them, and spreading them out through different machines on high heat. One time I dropped a bunch of eggs into somebody's dryer load. I never started crap with anybody, but I was never afraid to take it 100 times further at their go-ahead. Story 7. We had a guy leave his window open on the 3rd story and a pipe burst over Christmas break. It leaked down the 2 dorms below, and the 20 or so guys that stayed behind emptied the dorms. We took out everything down to the clothes and rubbers out and stored them. The guys from the 2 soaked dorms came back about a week later and everything was returned. The guitars, computers, CDs, all of it. I still can't believe we were able to find that many honest strangers. Beats out all the banging, ODs, and all the rest that happened there. Those are the things you were expecting when you clicked the thread. Story 8. So none of these are amazing on their own, but this one guy managed to rack up a ton of awesome stories all by himself. For context, we lived in a 4-story building with 3 wings on each story. Each wing had 24 to 36 students. 1. He got drunk and decided to roll his computer chair all the way to the bathroom. He peed in the toilet, but the whole dribble effect thing had caused the last of his pee to end up on his chair. Didn't bother him, he rolled back home. 2. Computer chair, take 2. He rolled up to the bathroom because he was sick. He got off his computer chair, sat on the toilet, and threw up on the floor. Yep, he was smart enough to go to the bathroom to throw up, but he got it backwards. 3. An RA, room admin, I think, came and asked if anyone had been drinking. He said that the guys at the end of the hall had been. They said thanks and started to walk away to the end of the hall. Literally 0.75 seconds later, he told me, "Haha, those losers, I've been drinking." They were 5 feet away. He got written up. 4. None of us could find him for a while. Finally, I was going to go outside to search. Elevator opened and in his best butler voice, he asked me, "Where are you going?" Apparently, he was the elevator chauffeur guy for almost 2 hours. The best part about this was for months, people asked if he was the elevator chauffeur guy. It was a great icebreaker and no doubt got him laid. 5. He snuck in Everclear. Within 10 minutes, he'd lit himself on fire with Everclear. Fun night in the ER. This, by the way, was just freshman year. This guy was awesome and a good student, but he was the dumbest drunk ever. Freshman year wasn't even his worst. OP, then why don't you tell us about his worst? This guy sounds incredible. Lighting himself on fire with Everclear, though? Ooh, I bet he didn't do that again. Or, you know what, maybe he did. Who knows? Story 9. 2 stand out. Circa 2000-2001. My floor was mostly other business and technology majors. The maths and social sciences were above us, and the top floor was all from the law enforcement school. We would hear rumblings and thumps at night, but from 2 floors down and the majority of us being hammered drunk most weekends, we didn't differentiate that something was amiss. Turns out the law enforcement students were hosting their very own full-blown version of Fight Club, smashing the crap out of each other on Friday nights, and usually cleaning up the evidence the next morning. Well, one day they didn't get to it in time and the school dean came through to find blood scattered across the walls and floor. Ripped off clothes and garbage everywhere. Females were totally in on it too. After that was the other incident. In the 2nd semester, we noticed one guy was becoming quite reclusive. Went to most classes and meals but didn't socialize, and we realized we didn't see him around the laundry rooms either. After a while, we started to notice an odor in the hallway. Within the week, entering our section was like having a stink bomb kick you in the face. It was nasty. We sniff tested and sure enough, the stench was emanating from this guy's room. Now, we had washrooms in our unit. It was a pretty sweet dorm. By the next day, it was too much, and we had to call the RAs to file a smell complaint. With an official complaint in hand, the dorm manager was allowed to enter the room, and he found the most disgusting horde of filth and garbage you have ever seen. The Hoarders TV show couldn't even beat this place. The guy hadn't thrown out anything. Gatorade bottles were stacked to the ceiling. It had not been cleaned in 7 months. The toilet was overflowing. Raw sewage was all over the floor and tub of the bathroom. It was straight up lunch-losing crap. We figured that because the winter was so cold, the sub-zero temperatures kept the smell from being overwhelming for an extended time. Once the weather warmed up a bit, though, it became intolerable quickly. A cleanup order was given, and within 2 days, the place was made livable again, and regular inspections mandated. Needless to say, the kid didn't pass the semester or return the next school year. Story 10. We had this old building that was kind of a maze with like 8 wings. Half of the wings had 3 floors of rooms and the other half had 2. Each floor had 8 to 10 rooms and was single sex. Each wing had 1 RA, except the RA for my wing mostly lived off campus with her boyfriend, so our wing was pretty much lawless. There was only 1 RA in the building who would really crack down on things when he patrolled through the building. So we had our other RA friend tell us his schedule and we planned parties for when he wouldn't come through. After finals, we had monkey bike jousting in the halls. We would go from floor to floor in each of the wings with the various champions asking for favors from the residents, which ranged from Kleenex to Mardi Gras beads to whole e-socks. RAs were given double rooms to themselves. One of them gave the extra bunk bed in her room to another resident on the floor below, and those guys had a triple-decker bunk bed for the year. Story 11. I was one of only like 3 freshmen on my floor. The rest were sophomore guys who all knew each other really well from their first year, or high school, and chose to live together in the dorm that year. The other 2 floors were female. One of the sophomores down the hall had his girlfriend in town for Halloween from another college, and as the night went on and people were just all over the place partying, it got pretty rowdy. At one point fairly early in the night, the room across from me got a lot of attention, as it basically sounded like an adult film going down. Lots of, well, you all know the dumb stuff that adult film stars say, as well as the obvious pounding on crappy dorm beds going down. Basically, all of us were drunk and laughing outside the room enjoying the show, until we realized the guy from down the hall couldn't find his girlfriend. It was so crazy and sad at the same time, as the dude just sat there outside of the room with tears in his eyes. They'd been together since high school. To make matters worse, his friends tried to console him by saying how they know that she'd hooked up with a bunch of other guys and never told him. Poor dude was crushed. On the bright side, he just sold his startup for 7 figures, so there's that. Get cheated on, make money. It's a trade-off. Seriously though, what a crappy way to find this out. This poor man. Also, actually, you know what? Not poor man. He's probably much better without her, because the kind of girl that would do that, she ain't worth it. Story 12. I actually have a few, but one stands out. In my senior year, we had smaller rooms, so you had your own room with no roommate. Usually on weekend evenings, the place was always empty, as most students either went home or went out, as students do. I was too broke to do either, but the guy across my room wasn't. He was a serious boozer. This one such occasion, he calls me to his room rambling incoherently about how his life was a mess. I was a bit annoyed because I was just like, dude, just sleep it off, I'm not in the mood for a chat, especially when you are drunk and I am sober. I then realized that he was saying like, last words kind of stuff. You know, stuff like, I'm sorry, you've been a good friend. I was like, oh my god, dude, what? He had a handful of Valium tablets and was planning to commit self-unalive. So I grab his hand just in time and we wrestle around his room for a while, with him trying to swallow the pills and me trying to take them off him and screaming for help. 20 to 30 minutes pass and no one turns up, and by now we're in the corridor still at it. He was quite strong for his size. I knew there was another friend down the corridor who was in his room, but he was getting laid, so he probably just thought we were drunk and play fighting. We'll call him KK. I managed to drag him all the way down the corridor in front of KK's room. Kicked in KK's door, like frickin' messes up the whole thing. KK comes out like he wants to kill someone. He soon figures out what's up and together we pinned this dude down and took all the pills he had. We went back to his room and cleared everything we could find. This dude was a nursing student and he had a polypharmacy in his closet. We then left him to sleep it off. I checked up on him the next morning and he was still alive. KK and I decided to keep it to ourselves and nothing was ever said about what happened and why. He never said anything either, and we just went on like nothing happened. That was 12 years ago. He is happily married with 2 kids now. I later found out that he had gotten someone pregnant and he panicked. He actually married that girl, so yeah, I stopped a guy from unaliving himself in college. The situational awareness for OP to figure that out, to realize what's happening and be able to stop it, oh, that's amazing. OP is incredible. Of course, okay, the alternative is you let him take it and then you have to live with the guilt that you let him do it your whole life. The alternative is not great, but still, OP really did save a life that night. Huge props. Story 13. So my first day at my dorm in ASU, I go around and meet all the people on my floor. I already had a group of friends who lived off campus at an apartment complex, and they were having a party for me making it out to college as I was a year younger. I decided to invite everyone on my floor, because they didn't know anything and I thought it would be a great intro. Everyone comes to the party, has a good time, and at the end of the night people start to leave. This one girl from my dorm, who I'll call Kate, tells her friend that she's going to stay. And this was just an apartment of dudes, so someone was getting laid. Her friend leaves, Kate stays. It's about 2 a.m. and people are mostly passed out. My one buddy who lived there seemed like he was going to get it with Kate, and we were all cool with it. At this time, Kate was pretty wasted. She went to the bathroom and was in there for some time. My buddy who was going to get laid was in his bed in his room. I was the only one up and I was going to crash on the couch. Kate then cracks open the bathroom door and just sticks her head out. I instantly get an overwhelming smell of fart, crap, whatever. But I'm not about to soil this new relationship, no pun, so I ignore it. She then asks if we have any extra pants. I'm thinking it's an odd request until she says, pajama pants. I'm like, oh, right, and get her some. She then goes into my buddy's room and the night ends. It's around 9 a.m. and I wake up, house is quiet, and I get on my bike to go home. Apparently Kate had left even earlier and no one heard. At noon I get a call from my buddy, and in the most serious tone I've ever heard him speak, he says, "Tommy, did you crap all over our bathroom?" I'm like, no, and if I did, I would at least clean it up. He tells me to come back over immediately. I get there, and he shows me the scene. Crap everywhere on the side of the toilet, the ground, the shower mat, the side of the sink, the counter, the mirror. It was insane. I then remember Kate, the night before asking for pants when it smelled like crap. Eventually, everything was cleaned, and a few nights later during a poker game, our buddy Marcus tells us he's going to CSI the crap crime and goes into detail of how it went down. Here's Marcus's fine detective work. Kate was obviously schmammered. She realizes she's got to take a crap, so she goes into the bathroom. But she was blacked out and sat on the toilet before taking her pants off. She then craps in her pants, realizes she still has her pants on, and tries to take them off. Crap comes out, landing on the side of the toilet and on the mat below. Kate then tries to clean up the crap, but once again she's blacked out, so she grabs her pants, tries to put them in the sink, getting crap on the counter cabinets and around the sink. She then gives up and opens the door and asks for pants from me, and I smell the crap. She then goes to bed. My buddy says nothing happened. Sure. And in the morning she wakes up, too embarrassed to clean up, and runs out of the house. Things were weird in my dorm after that. I'm pretty sure she told everyone else I did something crazy because she knew that I knew the truth. I didn't tell anyone what really happened besides a few close friends because it would be screwed up. And that's when I realized people crap themselves a lot in college. Story 14. Me, my roommate, we'll call him Jim, and a friend, we'll call him Matt, were hanging out in my dorm. Matt's girlfriend's roommate knocks on our door at 2 a.m., saying that Matt's girlfriend is drunk and she needs our help. So Matt, Jim, and I walked down to her room and found Matt's girlfriend, Jen, topless, lying in a pool of her own vomit, yelling very loud. As we step into the room, we were overcome by the smell of raspberry vodka and peanut butter. Jen apparently ate 4 peanut butter sandwiches while drinking. I almost threw up all over the place. Matt goes over and tries to pick her up out of her vomit, and proceeds to drop her because her arms are covered in it. Me and Jim go over to help, and the 3 of us succeed in getting her into the shower. Side note, our dorms were suite style where they shared a bathroom with another room. We are trying to keep her quiet because on the other side of the bathroom was our RA. We get her cleaned up, put clothes on her, and Matt puts her in her bed. We put towels down on her bed before laying her down. Matt lays her face up. I make a comment how we should move her head to the side in case she throws up. No more than 3 seconds after I move her head, she throws up all over the towel. So we had to basically repeat the whole process. I still can't eat PB&J without vomiting. Oh, what a fantastic one to end on. Delicious, amazing. Thank you so much, OP. Hope you all enjoyed that.